Story 1. The first story is the fourth update about a man in his 60s, dying of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. When he discovered that he is dying, he came home to break the sad news to his wife, only to catch his wife cheating with his business partner on his security camera. The links to part 1, 2, and 3 is in the description below. Click on the timeline to skip to the next story if you are not interested in following up with this update. I had my lawyer, a notary, the twins, Sarah and Steve, to my farm today. The tasks I needed are done. This process has gone about as well as it could have gone. It is understandable that the family is hurt and angry. When everyone arrived and they saw my lawyer and the notary, the tension in the room was high. I asked them to just sit and listen to me, and after I finish, they are to sign the papers. After signing the documents, I will answer all questions. They all know about the trust. I explained to them it was time for me to release control of the trust to them. I explained how important the trust was in my life, why I started it, how it was outside of my marriage to Jane by mutual decision. I also left instructions on how I wanted them to direct and use the trust. We explained that the trust would be split between the twins and the grandchildren, with Sarah and Steve equal proxy votes for the grandkids until each of them reached the age of 25. Their trust in me was evident because they signed the documents and got them notarized. After that was done, copies were collated, and I dismissed my lawyer and the notary. I saw them out and thanked them for coming out on a Sunday. They both were gracious as always. When I returned to the dining room acting as a conference room, they all were quiet. My daughter broke the silence with the first question. Well, it was definitely a multi-part question or a stream of consciousness. As soon as she stopped, I started with my health. I explained the fact of my diagnosis. I listened to them making plans on how we are going to fight this. And this is where I stopped them. I explained the odds. I told them I have already had a second opinion. Then I told them what you all already know. I am not going to seek treatment. I am going to let nature take its course. We spent the next hour to an hour and a half arguing. My daughter left the room a few times. Sarah had to go get her. While they were gone, Steve, my son, and I had a heart-to-heart. They understand where I am coming from. They might not agree, but they understand. The consensus is that Sarah and my daughter will come around. After all, this calmed down, and I knew the next question was coming. When did I find out? And I told them. And now there was another round of anger and sadness. I explained that I wanted one more holiday week where I was not a dead man walking. That I was selfish. I wanted this diagnosis to be after the holidays. I don't want it to taint their holidays for the rest of their lives. My daughter, sensing there was still more, went all kajak. She was not going to leave the room until all were out. She asked how in the hell did Jane not tell her. That is when I dropped the last bomb. I told them exactly the same account of events that I did in my first post. That is the first time I truly saw the fire of anger in my daughter's eyes. I then told them she to this day does not know I know. I basically answered the same questions, plots, and etc. that you all suggested. So, I guess you all prepped me well. In the end, I told them I valued them way more than Jane. For me, I just want to spend the rest of my days in peace, not worrying about Jane. I had to explain my actions during the holiday week. They also pieced together her steps outside for air and the trip into town where she did not want to bring the grandkid. They were worried I did this all alone. I told them I have some social media friends that helped me through the roughest of this time. I refused to tell them where and how. They can learn later, but I still want this space for myself. The emotions were really raw, and we have been talking off and on as a group for a few hours, but I told them I needed to go back and talk about the trusts. They understand that the trust will be very helpful in not allowing Jane to obtain my hard-earned wealth, that it protects them, and that is why she is not part of this meeting. With that said, I then needed to share the financials of the trust. I am pretty sure that they all saw the trust as a tax dodge or just a way to protect assets in a marriage where the kids are from another woman. They were not prepared for me to share the finances. As I started to go through the assets and the balance sheets, the room just fell silent. Then there was one question: why did you work so hard those years when you had this much? I explained my philosophy of personal finance, something they have heard many times before and take to heart. But I told them that I lived off the trust all of these years. I put them through college with that trust. I made time in my life for them with that trust. And I was able to work for a non-profit for basically free because of that trust. And if there is any example I want to outlive in them and their children, is to use this trust to do better for others. And not to just write a check for a charity here and there, but to work for something they believe in. In my years with this nonprofit, I have done so much more in training others and building relationships than just writing a check cannot do. I am not happy that today everyone's lives at that table changed in so many ways, good and bad, because of me. It was not the way I wanted it to happen, but it is done. They know all of it. I have begged and pleaded that they let me deal with Jane, not to talk about the trust with anyone. We will run as status quo for now. When I get sicker, then things will change. They all have agreed. We spent the next few hours making a meal, talking, crying, laughing, and breaking into smaller groups. They all have left about an hour ago, but I expect the twins to come back. I know they will let their spouses in on what is going on. That is just the way they are. And I love my two in-laws' children very much. I knew that last night was my last quiet night. I feel a weight lifted but replaced with another weight of worry. Thank you all for reading. Your thoughts and prayers are so valuable to me. Again, tell your loved ones how you feel and give them a hug. TLDR, I told my family and got the trust transferred. It has been a rough day. Reader comment, Opus, I do believe you and I are about the same age. Reading your update made me a bit emotional. The care and love you have for your family and their love for you is inspirational. What you lack in a wife you more than make up for in family. I truly hope at some point your wife will realize what she threw away. I used to tell my dad he should sell his land and live better, like you. He said he would leave that to us. Now that I am older, I get it. Living better doesn't mean as much as taking care of your loved ones. They sound like good kids that love you very much. I'm sure you can count on them for all things. I just want to say thank you for sharing your story with us. Original poster, and I would challenge you, what is living better? Fancy cars, exotic food. I lived a very comfortable life, but I never saw the excitement in a new truck every year or a house way too big for me. For me, living a better life was living where I was and spending time with my family and friends. Doing the hobbies I love. I choose long ago that spending my life amassing as much wealth as I can at the expense of the other things I value was not for me. I was able at an early age to stop traveling and work about 30 hours a week. I know I am blessed more than others, but what I would encourage all to do is find your sweet spot. Balance wealth, work, with standard of living, loved ones, and hobbies. It is hard work, but worth more than anything if you can find it. Reader comment, been reading your story from the beginning and you are restoring my faith in humanity. I wish you good days and happy moments for rest of time you have. Original poster, there are far more good people in this world. I am not special. I am just someone that called out in the darkness for support. You are ranked in those good people. You took time out to message me. Thank you. Reader comment, your strength is amazing. I'm so sorry you and your family are going through this. You've touched so many of us here, and what I find so ironic is you are going through the darkest time and here you are comforting your family and us here, across the country and around the globe. You are truly a man of honor in class. I keep you in my thoughts every day and pray for a miracle every night for you. I pray for peace and love for your family. May your next journey be filled with peace, love, light. Take care of yourself. Big hug for you family. I'm crying again. Original poster, if anyone takes anything from me, I want it to be this: be true to yourself, love those around you, and it is so much better to help others rather than tear them down. Story 2. Found out my wife had an affair just before the New Year's ball drop. It was New Year's Eve 2022 going into 2023. My wife of 10 years and we have 3 kids started sleeping on the sofa at 11 p.m. Something in my gut told me to look at her phone, so I did. My heart dropped into a void when I looked at her text messages. She had this man stored as a heart. Text messages saying, "Baby, I miss you, I love you." As I kept scrolling through it, there were lewd photos of her. My wife worked overnight, and on her break, she would take an Uber to his apartment and have sex. All of the texts confirmed it. There were screenshots of messages I sent her asking, "Why aren't you being romantic like we used to?" and both of them would laugh at it and say, "Wow." She was telling him, "I can't wait to divorce him and marry you." She would say to him, "I want to have your babies." He would ask her if she was pregnant, if not, to remove her birth control. She would say how much she wants to suck his D and him saying he wants her pee, and so on for months. She would send pictures and videos of my kids to this man she had known for 5 months. Then the New Year's ball dropped after I read all these messages. My world felt distorted. She has been acting weird these few months. I would ask if everything okay and she would say that I'm paranoid and acting psychotic like my brother. Mind you, I'm working full-time, a full-time nursing student, and a full-time parent at 32 years old, and I invested my life into this relationship and family. I was completely blindsided. I asked, "Did you stop talking to him?" And she said, "I am going to keep effing him, so I don't know what you want to do with yourself." I honestly am so lost. I don't have many friends, and this person I trusted with my heart, my life, ripped my soul apart. I've been doubling up on therapy, but it doesn't help. She wants to sit next to me and act as if nothing happened. I'm so dissociated right now that it feels like I'm living in someone else's life. Reader comment, I'm really sorry, man. I don't have much to add to the good advice already posted here. She may snap out of her affair fog at some point and realize that she's throwing everything away for nothing. Her remaining close to you and acting normal has got to stop though. You are still providing her your masculine protection and being her provider. This is enabling her to remain in the affair. I wish I had not allowed my WW to hang around me and pretend that everything was okay. The affair continued for another 3 months and that killed any hope of me trusting her. I also didn't find therapy helpful because deep down I wasn't the issue and the things that I may have needed to work on myself about were unrelated to the affair, which was all I could think about. From your description of her despicable comments about the father of her children, it is clear that she's lost respect for you. It's your choice to decide if you want to respect yourself, but don't expect anyone else to respect you if you choose not to. The world is harsh, and you had a beautiful protective bubble that she popped for whatever reason. You are still young and have most of your life ahead still. Good luck, friend. Reader comment: with this attitude, a global thermonuclear outing is in order. Facebook to the world a very obvious but not obscene screenshot and announce your divorce. Email all friends, family, work, and acquaintances. You need to channel your anger not in any way that can blow back on you but to get you to take decisive action. Burn this to the ground. She has betrayed you, her vows, and the family. She has no honor. Stop treating her like anything but an enemy. If it helps, think of her like she's been possessed by a demon. That it's not really her. There is some solid research that show brain chemistry totally changes in an affair, so in many ways the personality you are dealing with isn't the wife you knew. Her current actions and attitude show that. She'll still use her knowledge of you, your memories and vulnerabilities against you to keep getting her way, but see it as the intentional manipulation that it is. Move now to protect your resources and children. Reader comment: if you don't leave this woman, you will harm yourself or end up in jail. She's affecting your mental health and it's driving you insane. She has told you she will keep doing what she's doing, so there's no remorse here. She is beyond toxic. Life is full of hills and valleys, and right now you're in the deepest, darkest part of the valley. If you keep going and move on from her, you will see the light again. Speak to a lawyer and get all of your options. Also talk to a licensed therapist and get counseling. Tell all close family and friends what's happening for support and to expose her cheating ways. Please do what is hard but necessary for yourself. If you haven't yet, get a DNA test for your children, as they may not be yours, and a STD test. Good luck. Story 3. WW left me for her assistant. My wife and I had been together for 9 years, married for 6 of those. Met her when I was in the military. I got out in 2015 and got married in November of 2016. I was going to school. There were some financial struggles, but I thought we were happy. Of course we had our problems like every couple, but nothing I didn't think we couldn't handle. I'll also add that her mother had an affair and left her father for another man. She's always resented her mother for what she did. She saw how hard it impacted her father and would bring up how her mother was awful for doing that. Now in late 2017 I found a job in my field. I work on aircraft, and that job often requires I work nights. I was put in the graveyard shift almost straight away. We didn't see each other much. She's a teacher, so she works during the day. Summer of 2018 comes around. She's on vacation and I'm still working the graveyard shift. Now she's going out quite regularly, drinking a lot. I figure she's blowing off some steam after a hard year. Then she starts hanging out with her friend from college regularly. They had a history, but I've hung out with the guy and he seemed decent. However, this still makes me uncomfortable, but I 100% trusted her, and given the history with cheating in her family, I never thought she would do what her mother did. Now fast forward to Nov 2019. One night she seemed quiet and depressed, so I go ask her what's going on. She confessed that she'd been having an affair with her college buddy from summer of 2018 to summer of 2019. It has been over for a few months by then, or so she said. This breaks me. I ask her to cease contact with him. To the best of my knowledge, she does. She seems remorseful and like she truly wants to make this marriage work, so like an idiot I stay. I tried to move forward, but I made a lot of mistakes during this first, we basically rug swept it. I didn't tell a soul. Neither of us did any sort of therapy. Now, I'm not perfect. I also have my issues. I'm a chronic procrastinator. I'm very disorganized. When it comes to house chores, I don't tend to pull my weight. I'd either forget or procrastinate. She's been talking to me about this for basically our entire marriage. I try to change my bad habits but would eventually fall off. Now 2020 hit, the pandemic happened and I get laid off. She's teaching from home. Now I'm depressed about the affair, losing my job. My problems compound. We go on like this until I finally find another job in March of 2021. Initially I'm on the day shift. We have money again. We get to spend time together. Things seem great. About 6 months after getting the job, I get put on the night shift again. This makes me nervous, but she reassured me that nothing would ever happen again. I make time during lunch every day to come see her. She still seems generally happy. During summer of 2022, her father moved in with us due to health problems. He owns the house we've been living in for the past 8 years. He lived out of state but sold his house and moved in with us. She was worried about what that would look like, losing our privacy and whatnot. I like my fill, so I wasn't as worried as her. At the beginning of the school year of 2022, she gets a new assistant. Now I think this is great because she hadn't had a permanent assistant going on like 3 years, and that had been really stressing her out. Kid is 21, lived with his parents. Apparently has a bad home life, parents hate him. She feels sorry for him, I did too. He doesn't have a car, so she starts picking him up and taking him home after work. Again, I got a bad vibe from this, but this kid is 21 and lived with his parents. Even though she's cheated before, I could not fathom her hooking up with what I basically saw as a troubled young adult. Months go by and she starts spending more and more time hanging out with him. I get increasingly uncomfortable, and I tell her as much, but again she tells me nothing is going on. Like a clown, I believe her. Mid-December, she tells me that she's been thinking about a divorce, that I haven't addressed any of my problems with helping around the house, that I don't pull my weight. I go into a panic. I ask her if there is anyone else and she says no. We talk and convince her that I'll work on my issues. I start doing more around the house, start pulling my weight. A week after the divorce talk, I come home from work at 10 p.m. and she's not home. I call her multiple times and she doesn't pick up. I start to get worried. She finally calls me back and says she's on her way home. She was at her assistant's place. She gets home drunk. I ask her if there's anything going on. Again, she says no. Now I know something is wrong. I'm getting flashbacks from the first affair. She goes to sleep. I decide to check her phone. I open her messages and there it was. There was "I love yous, can't wait to see you again." There was other stuff I don't really want to remember. She didn't even delete anything. I wake her up and confront her right away. Faced with the evidence, she confessed right away. Initially, she seemed remorseful. I have her call this little a hole to end it. She does. I talk to him and the little shit threatens to kick my arse. We hang up. She says she messed up and promises to work on it. If I was broken before, now I'm shattered. I tell her dad, who's in the next room. Having lived with it, he was also suspicious something was going on. I take the rest of the week off work and I start drinking and pass out. Next day, she comes into the bedroom and tells me that she does want a divorce after all. That she doesn't want to hurt me anymore, that I deserve better, and that she's unhappy. I'm not proud of this, but I start doing the pick-me dance. I beg her to rethink this. She refuses. At this point, I call my family, tell them everything. I go stay at my mother's for the holidays. It was awful. I continue doing the pick-me dance over text over the next few weeks. Obviously, it doesn't work. She continues seeing her AP. I'm gutted. My Phil recommended I go to relationship forums. He's been very supportive and is quite disappointed in his daughter. I'm an IC. I've temporarily moved in with my brother. We began the divorce process. I've finally stopped doing the pick-me dance. Have mostly gone to NC with her unless it's about the divorce or our pets. I'm not really doing better though. I still miss her. Some part of me still wants her to come back, even though I know that's not the right thing. I can't trust her anymore. I should have left after the first, but I didn't have the strength. Now here I am, displaced and alone. Hopefully it gets better. It doesn't feel like it right now though. Still feeling quite lost. Edit. I know many of you want me to, but I'm not going to report her to HR, even after the divorce is final. I'm not looking for revenge. Yes, she's ruined my life, but I don't want to ruin hers. I don't want to be vindictive. I don't want to hate. She teaches little kids. She may be many things, but she would not go for a student next. I don't know, it seems it might have been a mistake to post. I might delete it. It's just making me feel worse. Reader comment. Divorce her while she feels sorry for you and will give you what you ask for in divorce settlement. Be nice to her during this time. Don't rock the boat. After divorce is final, expose her and AP to their work HR. This could get them both fired. Once she realizes that she'll be footing all the bills for her cheap AP, she'll be coming back on her hands and knees. Don't give in. Keep moving forward and tell her to pound sand. You do deserve someone better. Original poster. Even after 9 years, we don't have any shared assets. Even have separate bank accounts. What's hers and mine is pretty clear. We're doing a no contest divorce and going our separate ways. Should be easy. I only told her that if she lawyers up, I lawyer up. Like I mentioned in another comment, I'm not gonna out her to HR. I'm going to let her F up all on her own. Reader comment. There's nothing left but to heal from her horrible behavior. Remind her on the way out that she turned out to be an even worse version of her mother. No chance her relationship with a 21-year-old works. But it was an exit affair. It was a way for her to escape the marriage that she clearly wanted out of. Take time to heal properly and work on yourself. There's a lot of residual damage that you need to confront. Original poster. Yeah, I've been thinking it was an exit affair too. They seem pretty in love though, like a couple of teenagers living in fantasy land. I just wish she had the ovaries to tell me before she did this. Reader comment. Been there. You feel worthless. You feel like a failure. You feel replaced. You feel you will always be alone. It does get better. Takes time, but it does. Invest in yourself and your healing. I'm 12 years out and happier than I ever was with her. New wife and I are a team who appreciate each other. Darth Brooks' unanswered prayers speaks to me as back in the midst of it all I pray for was for reconciliation. You miss who you thought she was. She wasn't. We model our relationships after our parents. In reality, she is her mother. She saw you as her father, then went ahead and replicated her mother's actions that she supposedly despised. Think about how F up she has to be to do that. Original poster. Yeah, I have friends who have been through this, and they say they're much happier. I still can't see light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm looking. I did tell her you're just like your mother the day I left. She couldn't even deny it.